Hi everyone, my name is Charlie and this is Charlie.
Hello.
Welcome to It's a Charlie Thing. Today we have a fantastic, a brilliant little interview with, as Charlie keeps calling her and is regularly correct, the lovely Kerry. Those of you who follow BookTube will know her from Kerry Books, which was formerly Kerry's Books and Wellbeing.
Kerry's Bookish Adventures in Wellbeing, I
There
think.
you go. You know me and remembering people's names. That it's quite an offensive thing, but Charlie knows that most of the people I know, I now only know based on one characteristic from the first time I actually met them. Some of these people had names that were very similar to each other. Uh, I am incredibly sorry to them that my brain just can't seem to grasp who they are. It's not one of the reasons why, but it's a very good thing for me that Charlie is called Charlie. And it's one of the reasons why it's very good that at work on certain days, people generally have the same name. Because I have reached a point in my life where I'm just terrible at remembering
If I
people's
don't know
names.
someone's name, for instance, like I have loads of kids that come to the library, and if I don't know their name, I'll just call them, or whoever the parent is, I'll say, "Lovely. Hi,
I knew
Lovely."
it. I
Again,
knew that's where you were going. That's where
yeah,
you
that's
were
what I
going.
do.
Yeah. So how are
Terms
you
of
today,
endearment.
Charlie?
I am very well, thank you. How are you?
Oh, no, I am fine. I thought it was going to be a difficult week at the charity shop. It didn't seem to be doing so well in terms of business, but towards the end of last week, it really turned around and we are very happy. Did I message you about the expensive garment?
Not sure.
Oh, well, anyway, somebody turned up at the door and they said that they were donating something and it was worth a lot of money. Now, I've worked in this industry for 18 years, so I know that sometimes when people tell you something is new, it's designer, and you'll get a lot of money for it, that might not be the case.
I'm
However,
talking like 20 quid.
a little bit more than that, I pulled one of these dresses out and I thought, oh, this looks a bit.
What was it? What was the dress?
I pulled this dress out. I hadn't heard of the brand before. I looked it up, and the first thing from the website was £1,300.
What was the brand?
I I can't remember now.
Oh my
It's
god,
one
that's
of
gonna
those
drive me crazy. I
yeah,
can't believe that.
it was one of those things where I hadn't heard of them before, and
I'm
it was a
desperate to
little
know
bit of an
now.
obscure one. So
Okay.
I saw that, and then even when I went to check secondhand sites, they seemed to sell them quite well. However, the dress isn't in the best condition, so I don't know what we're going to do about that. Still, we've had enough designer clothes and more upmarket items donated that's meant even though we've had fewer customers, we've had significant purchases. So Charlie this week is feeling a bit content, a bit happy. And this is also to do with all of the things. Anything exciting during your week, Charlie?
No, I was poorly all week, but
Oh
like almost a
no!
lot of the week. But no, that's just it's just what happens, isn't it? You get the bugs. It's January. There's so many going around. I'm fine. Like I'm recovering. I'm fine. I'm good. All good.
It's still not nice though. It's like I swear there have been so many messages over the last few months where I've been having, not just you though, where you've been sending them to me as well, where we're just like, get the rest, read the books, drink the tea.
Just so for days. I think I watched Pirates of the Caribbean this week after saying that we hadn't watched it. So yeah, I watched. I think how many movies of them did I watch? I watched the 1, 2, and 3, and
Oh my
then by the
goodness, you're
fourth,
further
I
ahead
was
than
checked
me.
out. I was checked out by the fourth. The fourth is. I'm not going to watch the fourth. But I
Okay, so
started
what did
watching the
you
fourth.
think about those three films? Because one I can't remember, one I recently watched, and I've not got around to the third. So what did you
Yeah,
think?
the first I loved. I thought it was really fun. I thought, yeah, I can see why all the hype.
Right.
I thought it was really good. And then the second one, I did actually like, despite what you had said. I didn't think it was like
Even
the
even
best.
even the
It
bit
was
that
no
I
mean.
wasn't happy about,
I can't remember what you
because
said that
I
you weren't
liked the
happy.
entirety of the film until the
Oh, the
ending.
cliffhanger.
Yeah.
The cliffhanger didn't bother me, mainly because I probably knew it was coming. So that was yeah. You,
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I get that. Yeah. Sorry for
so it didn't
spoiling
bother
that one.
me. Oh no! That's right. No. It's like, yeah, and then but the fourth is just terrible, terrible, terrible. I just wouldn't touch it with the barge pole. Like that was just the worst thing. Like I just don't like. I started. I had to. It's like what's the equivalent of DNF, but in film version.
You
Either which
can
way.
no DNF you can DNF a film. I did not
Oh
finish
yeah,
the
did not
film.
finish.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
No,
DNF the film.
I've definitely got films like that. I know that I mentioned it with that second Pirates of the Caribbean film where I said that usually the way I tell whether a film is good or not is if I've looked at my phone, and I didn't look at my phone with that one. What did you make of the third film?
Yeah, it was alright. I mean, it
All
wasn't
right.
the best,
Okay,
but
we've
it
gone from
wasn't.
it it feels like they go through a decline. The third
No,
film is
it was
all
no, because
right,
there
and
was
the
some
fourth one is
characters that
terrible,
appear.
terrible,
So there was
terrible.
some characters that appear in the second was it the first or the second film? Either which way, my brain is all jumbly. So I liked that element.
Yeah.
Obviously, that day I wasn't feeling very well either, but I binged them. So no, yep, yeah, no.
Yeah, well, my aim isn't for Pirates of the Caribbean this week. I'm feeling in a bit of a mood for some classic Doctor Who, so that's where I'll be over the next week.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think that it is high time we head into our interview with Kerry. Over the last few weeks, we've been very much thinking about January and what that means for people. We've been thinking about taking care of ourselves, comfort, and just making sure we take time for ourselves. So there was a booktuber meetup back in November. And at this meetup, we announced what It's a Charlie thing was going to be, that it was coming. And Kerry very kindly offered to be one of our first guests. So when this opportunity came up, when we knew that we wanted to be talking about mindfulness and we knew we wanted to be talking about taking care of yourself, that we needed to speak to Kerry about this
We
because
needed to have. She's the
Kerry,
person to go to.
and so that's what we did. And so here is our interview with, as Charlie calls her, the lovely Kerry. But it is going to prove to be quite magnificent.
I can say that a lot,
Welcome,
can't I?
Kerry. How are you today?
I'm really good. I'm so happy to be here. I feel like so lucky and privileged to be the first guest on your lovely pod. It's very exciting. Although I did basically invite myself on very ungraciously.
Well, no, it wasn't ungracious. It was one of those things like anyone who's seen our thumbnails, our like the title picture where Charlie and I are stood in front of the purple pink that wall. Kerry very kindly took those photos of us and directed us as well, and was even kind enough to sort my hair out when it was malfunctioning. So when Kerry said, could she be a what's the thing? Not volunteer, a guest on the pod. We were like, yeah, that's gotta happen. And so you were always going to be the first.
Aw,
You're
you were just
wonderful.
too
I
kind
loved
to
you.
say no, back off, you weirdo.
Never.
We had that conversation in Bristol as well about how I very much only navigate towards people, and everything I do is quite honest.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's right.
sometimes too much honest, but yeah,
No, I like that. Authentic.
yeah. That's a better word. Authentic. We'll go with authentic. An authentic
Yeah.
northerner, you don't usually find them.
You're a rare breed, Charlie.
Definitely is that. So have you always been like a reader, Kerry? Where did you start with your reading journey?
Yeah, no, not at all. I'm also a rare breed in like the kind of like book sphere, I suppose, and I've only really been an avid reader for maybe the last 5 years or so. I've always loved literature and books and like studied that at school and so on, but I always thought of myself as quite a slow reader. I used to have a job that was quite demanding time and capacity and all of that stuff. It's like kind of 60-hour weeks. And when I changed jobs, suddenly I was reading tons. I was like, I wasn't a slow reader. I was just knackered. So yeah, reading really opened up to me about 5 years ago when I changed jobs and discovered this amazing thing called work-life balance. And yeah, so I've got loads of catching up to do. I'm kind of in that place where you quite often are as a kind of content creator around books, where I'm like a child in a sweet shop. Like I want to read the backlist stuff, I want to read the classics, I want to read the new releases, I want it all at once.
That's exciting though.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so
and it is
exciting.
also that thing where it does, like, it gives you that freedom to go towards everything, because I know, like, from my own experiences, like, I've tried books when I was younger that I should not have tried at that age because they were popular, and then I'm like, now I'm reticent to read them because I'm like, well, I had that bad experience, and there's every chance it is gonna be like, if I'd left them till later, I'd understand what all that hype had been and why people had enjoyed them.
Yeah, and you get different things from, I mean, books are very much of the moment, aren't they? You get something out of it depending on how you're feeling and what space you're in at the time, and you resonate with different things depending on your circumstances.
100%. Your channel used to be called Kerry's Bookish Adventures in Wellbeing. It's now Kerry Books. We'll be linking Kerry's channel in the description, obviously. How did you come to being in that space where you were regularly investing in your wellbeing? And talk about a bit about your journey into wellbeing.
I will try not to take too long. We'll do the Cliff Notes version. So I used to work in education, in pastoral care in schools. I kind of niched down and specialised in mental health and wellbeing in education. And that was like the whole umbrella of it all within a school. So the preventative stuff, the reactive stuff, the teaching, like all of it. And I started doing that before it was a legal requirement, and before it became kind of like necessary and mandatory and popular. Luckily now that's all really embedded in school curriculums and stuff, but it was a slog to get there. That was sort of my interest in like supporting young people's mental health, and teacher mental health at the time was really important to me. But I was so in that space that I didn't recognise a lot of the time my own mental health difficulties. You know, when you're kind of surrounded by something so much, you kind of overthink the fact that, oh no, is that what I've got? No, it's just because I'm hearing about it and thinking about it all the time, I'm applying it to myself. And so I dismissed a lot of those experiences that I was having too as that, being in that space and overthinking it all. And then post COVID, I hit absolute burnout and needed to make some changes. That involved a bit of medication for me to manage anxiety, which was a lifesaver at the time. I took sertraline. Don't know if anybody's taken sertraline, but I didn't know that it was going to be like emotionally numbing. And I'm quite an emotional person. So although it was very helpful to me at the time when the emotions were very big, actually long term that wasn't the right solution for me, because I need to feel things. That's how I interact with the world, is how I experience it through my emotions. So it was a stopgap, and then that really made me think, actually I really need to put some things in place. All of this stuff that I've been teaching young people about, I need to apply it to myself. Mental health and wellbeing was my personality for a long time. I existed in those spaces. I used to have a blog called Adventures in Wellbeing a long time ago. That transmuted to reading and wellbeing, and I've gone full bookish now. So we've come through that spectrum. But yeah, I'm still obviously really passionate about mental health and wellbeing. I still have my own kind of flare-ups of anxiety from time to time that I need to kind of take care to manage. And as somebody who has experience of speaking about this and advising other people on how to manage theirs, I can put my hand up and say I'm terrible at it. You know, it's a kind of do as I say, not do as I do thing. But yeah, we move. That's kind of the background. I should also say, like, just as a disclaimer, I'm not a mental health professional. I don't think, unless the Charlies, it's a secret Charlie thing, you guys have got secret qualifications. I don't think
No, we don't.
We'll just speak from personal experience.
That's good though. And it's so important to talk about these things and raise awareness, and like, because I feel like such a lot of stigma, even still in this day and age, there's so much stigma attached to our mental health. You know,
it's been a recent conversation in these parts as well about like the January blues and combating any form of sadness and that sort of thing. And I'd recently been talking about the fact that I might not be the best person to talk about it, because years ago I just had this, like, similar to what you're saying about the anxiety thing. I had this period where I was like extremely anxious, and then once I got through the other side, because I kept saying to the doctor, no, I don't have that problem, it's just this one. You still, like, I don't need to focus about that because I know what's wrong. I just need you to sort this issue out and I'll deal with all that later. And then I like took a period of about 3 or 4 months where I basically languished and didn't do anything. And then over the time came up with a way that worked for me. But that's why whenever like people ask questions about, they see that you've got through it and they'll ask you questions like, well, I didn't do this in any sort of like professional way. It was very much, I figured out the way that would work for me and the process that works for me, which oftentimes is probably an unhealthy amount of time sat in a corner, just recalibrating. But yeah.
But I think that's a really powerful thing to share, Charlie, because other people will have that experience of one size doesn't fit all with mental health. There isn't a magic bullet, unfortunately. It's one of those things where it's trial and error at a time where you have very little energy and capacity to be trying different things out. And so the fact that you've got that story of I worked it out for myself, I found what worked for me, and I got there in the end, is a powerful message of like hope for people who are in that similar experience, isn't it?
Well, I hope so.
Yeah, because when
Yeah.
it's like the thing of like when your house is burning down, you're not thinking about like putting the fire out. You're trying to get yourself out of the house, isn't it? It's like it's such a difficult one. Yeah, I know that you've got some book recommendations for us in this field. Would you like to share them with us?
So I have overachieved and put together a massive stack, but I will just pull out just a few to show you some highlights. Self-help gets a bad rap, right? Because it's known as being a bit kind of like wishy-washy. But I think there's real value in reading some really good quality self-help books, and they can be really powerful. So the first one that I wanted to recommend is A Manual for Being Human by Dr. Sophie Mott. If you've never read a self-help before, if you only ever want to read one, this is a really good place to start. It's a really thorough book. Dr. Sophie Mott is an actual medical doctor, so we can trust what she says. It's not pseudoscience that she's kind of learned from TikTok. She knows what she's talking about. And the thing that I loved about this book was that it really normalized the human experience. You know, when you're in that place of struggling with your mental health in whatever way, and you recognize these kind of like really unusual or kind of like uncharacteristic behaviors or thought patterns in yourself. We've all been there, right? And you're like, what is going on? She really compassionately normalizes all of those experiences and is like, just calm yourself down. It's okay. This is totally normal because this, and this is happening. These are the things that you can do about it. And it just felt like being seen and being given a toolkit at the same time. I recommend this as a really, really good place to start. As A Manual for Being Human by Dr. Sophie Mott.
That sounds amazing.
Another one which I've talked about before on my channel, which I absolutely love, is How to Keep House While Drowning by Casey Davis. This is slightly more niche. It's a very, very small book. It will take you 2 minutes to get through. But you know, when you're in having those experiences of whether it's being very depressed or whatever it may be, for me, certainly, things like general housework and stuff goes out of the window. And for a lot of people, like personal hygiene and things, all of that becomes really difficult. What Casey Davis does in this book is just basically says, that's okay. Give yourself a break. Here's some shortcuts that you can take. That's fine. Like, while things are feeling difficult, try this instead. So if you don't have the capacity to do a full exercise class, 2 minutes of walking is better than nothing. Give yourself permission to make your workload much lighter. And she does that in all different ways. And I've found this come back to me at those times when I've been struggling, and I've heard that inner voice being like, no, it's okay. So like when I'm cleaning, for example, just doing a little bit is better than doing nothing and then feeling guilty about doing nothing. She does go take it to quite extremes. And from her own experience, she's had quite debilitating episodes of depression. It's perhaps not for the kind of like eco-conscious amongst us, because when she's talking about like when you want to cut corners around meal times and stuff, just use disposable plates and cutlery and stuff. She does take it to those extremes, but I just think the premise of this and just that general sense of permission to cut those corners and take shortcuts where you need to, and that reassurance that it won't stay like that and it'll pass, and then you can go back to doing your really wonderful, thorough job at things. But in the meantime, cut some corners and cut yourself some slack. I found that really useful. So those are two top self-help books that I like.
That one kind of sorry, not trying to interrupt you. It gave me is it like, you know, the half-assed human by
Yes.
Lena Norman? It sort of gave me those sorts of vibes when you were talking about it.
That. Yeah, just doing something a little bit is better than like doing something nothing at all and then feeling that kind of existential guilt about it.
Yeah, 100%.
A couple of memoirs then, because memoirs I think are quite good at fostering that sense of empathy for yourself and for others, and kind of connecting with other people's experiences. One that I read last year, My Mess is a Bit of a Life by Georgia Pritchett. It's called Adventures in Anxiety. So for anybody who's had anxiety, I'd really recommend this. Firstly, because it's a really gentle, easy read. So it's written in vignettes, and lots of them are literally just a page or so long. So it's really easy to read and digest. It's very funny, but really thoughtfully captures that experience of having anxiety. It made me laugh out loud and cry and everything in between. I thought it was really wonderful memoir about anxiety.
That sounds amazing. I love
that
it.
was one we previously had at the charity shop. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Like I said about you know, we get those authors where we'll put them out and they sell incredibly quickly. That's one that is a bestseller if we get it donated.
Oh.
Yeah, no, I can see why, totally. And then another memoir that really impacted me was I May Be Wrong. This is by Björn Natthiko Lindeblad. Björn was a kind of like heavyweight corporate person and quit that job to go and be a Buddhist monk. So he went all in and moved to Thailand and lived in a what do they call it? A monastery?
Yeah, I guess so.
Temple?
A building.
We don't know things like this. This is not an area that the Charlies know about.
So yeah, he went and did that, and I really love this because obviously meditation is a big part of that experience, and he was a bit rubbish at it. I liked that. I mean, if anybody's ever tried to meditate, like just sitting still for any length of time, let alone with your own thoughts, is just so painful, isn't it? And he really struggled with that, and I liked that. Later on in life, he quits being a monk and wants to return to his life as was before, and the book ends with him being diagnosed with a life-limiting condition, and it finishes with him actually planning his death through assisted dying. And so when this was published, he'd actually died.
Wow.
But obviously he'd been kind of promoting it. There were interviews. I listened to a podcast with Fern Cotton interviewing him before the book, so he knew that he was going to die by the time it was released. And yeah, it's a really powerful memoir, but full of, you know, human warmth and compassion. So that was I May Be Wrong by Björn Natthiko Lindeblad. Then sort of lastly, if you want something to soothe your soul that's
I'd
not
need a soul.
non-fiction.
Do you have a soul, Charlie?
Soul soothing. I would recommend Becky Chambers' A Psalm for the Wild Built and A Prayer for the Crown Shine. Have you guys read these?
I
haven't
haven't,
read-
but as a big fan of Books and Bounds podcast, these were Ariel Bissett's favourite books a couple of years ago.
Yeah, they really are something really special. It's set in a future where technology and humanity have fallen out, and the robots have basically taken themselves off to live in the wild, and humans have kind of gone back to basics and are living without technology. And it's about a tea monk called Dex. Tea monk is a job that I think I would very much like. So they travel around foraging ingredients, and they go to different villages in their caravan, and they listen to people's problems and then make them a unique blend of tea for their problems. Doesn't that sound nice?
That sounds
I
amazing.
feel like that's you and Charlie in a couple of years.
I'm going to become
Our
a tea monk.
caravan.
Like
That's
when
what we
this
need.
podcast takes off and you
Oh,
get
is
your
it?
spin-off TV show on Channel 5, that's what you're going to be doing, travelling up and down the country in a VW
You'll be driving the
camper van,
caravan, Charlie. You can be
Amazing.
driving the caravan. We'll be off
Yeah.
and
making
driving.
folk tea and listening to them.
I love tea, and I do love, and also when you're talking with people over a cup of tea, they do open up a little bit more than they would do normally, I think.
Yeah. Yeah,
Tea.
no, it's a lovely premise. But Dex is having a bit of difficulty. He's having a bit of an existential crisis about the whole thing, and so they travel off into the wild and they encounter a robot, first kind of human robot encounter for, you know, many years. And the robot wants to know how humanity's doing and if we need any help. It's just about their conversations and what they decide to do to try to find out if technology can help again. But it's just so lovely, so soothing, but it's not cheesy or saccharine at all. It's really lovely vibes. So yeah, recommend those if you want a bit of soul soothing.
Well, they look amazing. They're brilliant recommendations.
Thanks. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention,
Go for it.
I have this rather excellent book called The Novel Cure. Have you heard of this?
I have not heard of this. Have you, Charlie?
Exciting. Okay, so this is by Ella Berthoud and Susan Elderkin. Ella is a bibliotherapist, another great job that I think I would love. Therapist combined with recommending books. I know.
Wow.
What a great job. So Ella has put together this book, and I've sent you the index of all of the different ailments that it covers. And there's all sorts of things in there, from having a broken spirit, experiencing a broken promise, facing your demons, addiction, piles. Like there's literally
Wow.
everything in here. And she's put together a book recommendation for all of those things. So like, I wasn't very well over Christmas, and one of the symptoms that I had was dizziness. So I looked up what my recommendation would be for dizziness. And it's a book called My Antonia by Willa Cather. And it looks like it's about two characters where the one is kind of a bit chaotic and the other is very grounding. And so that's the kind of thing that she's recommended. It's not too on the nose, the recommendations. You know, she's not recommending books about grief for people experiencing grief. It's a bit more subtle than that. So yeah, I thought that was really fun. So do you guys want to have a look at the index and pick something out, and I'll look at what your recommendation would be?
It's funny though, because like, I'll take my glasses off. Sorry. the first things that I see, like I've got the R page up, and I saw Rage first of all, which is quite funny. I did see orgasms. Sorry, that did jump out at me.
You would have to be that person.
I can't help it. That's not my fault that it appeared like that into my brain. This was whatever. Let's see.
Are we looking
is
at the
it-
index of reading ailments here?
Yes.
Or
Is there any ones? Is it like
Whichever
ones that
you
you want to?
fancy. Yeah, pick something and I'll tell you
Well, it
what
was
the
just
recommendation.
as somebody who currently is trying to clear books, overwhelmed by the number of books in my house.
Oh, there you go.
That's relatable.
That is very relatable.
Okay, let's look that up. Oh, I'm sorry.
What does it say?
It says cull your library.
I knew it was going to do that.
No, he wants to do that.
Yeah, I got to do that, but I was just like hoping there was a solution because, yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
It
Charlie,
says,
what did you
reader,
decide?
Reader,
Okay.
cull your books. Do it every 6 months and aim to cut your library by at least 10% each time. Wow. It says, as Susan Hill says in her lovely Howard's End, you don't have to pay its rent just because it is a book.
Oh, there you go
Ooh.
then. That's true though, isn't it? That is true. I think the one I'll go to, because I was being silly before, is to sleep too little. Obviously, I'm not the best sleeper in the world. It is known.
Sex too little and sex too much.
Of course, it's not just me. There's bits.
That can all be sorted with a trip to Manchester, don't worry.
Oh, hang on. It redirects you.
It redirects me. Let's see. I feel like
Let's
I'm going to
go
want this book now.
Insomnia.
It's reminding me a bit of the Poetry Pharmacy.
Yeah. Okay. So the recommendations are The House of Sleep by Jonathan Coe or The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. Okay. Insomniacs often turn to reading as a way to endure those lonely wee hours. We heartily agree that there is no better way to spend this otherwise wasted time, as long as you're not disturbing anyone else. For instance, Jonathan Coe's novel, The House of Sleep, is an invaluable tool for exploring your sleeplessness, but it should not be read at night unless you are prepared to accept that you will be up until dawn. Despite its title, the novel is far from peaceful in its contents. Pick it up during the day when you are wide awake and prepared for a thorough analysis of why the hell you can't get to sleep.
There you go then. That sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, and then The Book of Disquiet is a novel without a plot, and which, while not sending you to sleep exactly, though it may, we'll come to that, allows you to reside in that heavy pre-sleep state, which you need to inhabit before gaining entry to full slumber. Yeah.
There you go then. Well, they are brilliant recommendations. Thank you, Kerry. All of those recommendations, I just feel like going to cost us a fortune.
It's not going to cost me anything. I'm getting rid of books.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, 10%.
Yeah,
I'll count them all and then we'll do a proper 10%. Although I am counting the 25 I just got rid of.
Do you guys read self-help books?
Yeah, I have
Holly's
done.
face, no.
No, he doesn't.
Well, it was actually, I was considering it because would we count Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert as a self-help
Yeah.
book? Yeah, okay then.
So.
Yes, I have read them, but clearly unconsciously. It's one of those where I think that I've always been a bit, again, reticent, like I feel like there's a specific sort of person that gets associated with self-help books and then I'm like, I don't really want to be that person, so I'm just going to avoid them. But also like any form of non-fiction, I always say, I want to read that, I want to get to it. And then chances are I always forget that that was where I was going to go.
I definitely love a self-help book. I have, but I probably I delve into certain topics. So, for instance, when I was starting my menopausal journey, sorry to talk about that, I dove into those books. So yeah, so it depends on what it is that I need help for. So I guess that's the same for everybody, to be fair. When you're diving into self-help books, I think when I'm anxious though, I can't, because I just can't. I struggle to read when I'm anxious.
That's when you need to turn to something like prayer for the the Psalm for the Well Built, something soothing and non-brain needy.
Yeah. 100%. Obviously, the Women's Prize is coming up soon. I can't not talk to you about this. Are you excited?
I am very excited. Yeah, I have my notes page on my phone with my wish list / predictions. I'm ready.
We'll be seeing plenty of content around that. Another thing I was going to talk to you about, which I've completely forgot, is because of my notes. It's underneath my iPad about Welsh literature. So, because I know you've been a big advocate for Welsh literature, especially the last year. You've really dove into it, like in 2025. I remember watching your channel. Have you got any plans over all of that this year?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that was one of my intentions. I listened to your podcast last week about goals, intentions, whatever we call it.
Or even if you're in denial.
Yes, I planned to read a bit more Welsh literature last year, and by Welsh literature I don't speak Welsh, so I read it in English, but by Welsh literature by Welsh authors, and I did, and I followed the Wales Book of the Year prize, which was great, and I hope to do more of that in the coming year. I think last year about 15% of my reading was by Welsh authors. So it just, it's one of those kind of places you think of like Irish literature, there's tons of that. But yeah, Wales is a little bit untapped. So so that's kind of exciting. So yeah, I hope to do that again. In March, it will be Dewi-thon, which, like all good Welsh traditions, nobody really knows how it originated. I will be reading books set in Wales and by Welsh authors in March. And then the Wales Book of the Year, they don't do a long list and a short list. They just do a short list. And that will be announced kind of late spring. And then the winner's announced in the summer. So I'll be looking to follow that again.
It's another book prize that you'll be excited for. It's going to be all the book prizes again this year, despite the fact that we tried to avoid them.
We've got a shared love of a Welsh author, don't we, Charlie?
Oh, Gareth Davis. Oh, that was amazing. And then obviously reading West after as well, because Gareth, those of you, I think we spoke about this on the pod the other day, that I'd read that the lovely Kerry had annotated book West by Gareth Davis, and I read it and it was amazing. That was amazing.
It's a lot of fun.
I can't wait to. I want to read all her books. I feel like maybe we should buddy read some more. We should plan all that in after the.
Yeah,
that's something you could do. You annotate all the books and just keep sending them back and forth to each other.
I would love that. I feel like after reading a book that's been wonderfully annotated, the reading has been significantly more boring since then. So I want all my books to be annotated by Kerry.
From listening and thinking that there's any sort of insight in my annotations, it's not. It's just absolute nonsense ramblings that pop out of my brain onto the page.
But you were making
True.
Charlie laugh.
Yeah.
I keep thinking about, was it the dedication at the start? Who are these people?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, don't do a dedication that's just initials. That's ridiculous. Tell me who they are.
Also, though, I still don't know who they are. I was going to go off and research after, and then we still don't know who they are. Yeah. No, the wonder that is Gareth Davis. That is definitely going to be a thing this year, isn't it? You're going to say about your happy moment, Kerry. Would you like to share your happy moment with us? Because this is what we always finish on. So let us know your happy moment.
I'd love to share my happy moment. My happy moment actually involved quite a lot of crying. I went to see Hamnet on Friday in the cinema, but it was a happy moment on a number of fronts. So I thought the film was excellent. I thought it was really wonderful. Jessie Buckley gave her and Chloe Zhao, the director, all of the awards. But it was the first kind of outing I've had. So I mentioned earlier I hadn't been well over Christmas. And so it's the first outing I had where I didn't feel weird there or afterwards. Like I actually managed to do a normal activity without kind of feeling completely wiped out. So that was a big win for me, and a good cry makes you feel really good, doesn't it?
It is cathartic.
I wouldn't know. I've not cried since about 1972.
Is that true, Charlie?
He's not been born since 1972.
Yeah,
That's
I haven't been
definitely
around
not.
since 1972, but no, I'm not the biggest crier in the world. It's what I always say about Charlie, and I've said recently, Charlie cries enough for the pair of us. She's the emotional one. I'm the one who's locked mine away somewhere.
That's true, though. Very caring.
Well, yes, thank you very much, Kerry, for coming along. I'm exceptionally pleased that you were our first guest for the podcast and agreed to this, because we have no idea what we're doing. Well, I
we're so
don't anyway.
grateful. We're so grateful. No, we definitely don't know what we're doing. We're so grateful to have you on as our first guest, though. So thank you so much.
It has been the greatest joy. You two are always an absolute pleasure to spend time with.
Hopefully we'll get to do it some more this year as well.
Yeah, we'll get you back on again.
That's it. Ta-da.